Hello everyone, here we go once again, chapter 15, Genesis, and it is raining. Well, it's not raining anymore now, but it was raining earlier and it was coming down. We were chopping wood. We were chopping cherry wood trees from this orchard that has been dug up, and they're going to build houses and apartment buildings and whatnot. And it was free wood. Since I have a wood burning stove, we figured we would chop down some cherry wood, and it just started raining. But that's besides the point. I thought I'll figure I'd give you a little personal story of what's going on. Anyway, chapter 15, Genesis. And here we go. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram. I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Because this, we're going to encounter this very sentence again later on in the New Testament. Abram, before he became Abraham, received the promise from God that he was going to multiply him like the stars of heaven and the sand of the sea. And because Abram believed that God was going to perform this thing, it was counted unto him for righteousness. That's what this means. Obviously, leave a comment if I'm getting this wrong, but this is what I understood, and we could talk about it. Verse 7, let's continue on. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. I believe Ur of Chaldees is in Mesopotamia, currently Saudi Arabia. No, I'm sorry, Iraq. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. Did a little butcher work into the splitting them down the middle, and he opened them up, probably on some kind of either on the ground or on an altar. That doesn't mention anything about an altar. But anyway, verse 11. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. This is prophecy that God gave unto Abram, and he's already talking about the children of Israel when they migrated from Canaan, the land of Canaan, into Egypt and stayed there 400 years. I'm not going to get into the details of who he's talking about, but this is prophecy which will be fulfilled in the book of Genesis. And it was about 60, 70 something people that moved from Canaan during a time of famine into the land of Egypt, and were placed in the land of Goshen, and there they stayed for 450 years serving that country, but we'll talk about it later. And that nation whom they shall serve, verse 14, and that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with the great substance. This is prophecy, and well, we'll talk about it when that time comes. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. The Amorites, from what I understand, were the people that were living in the land of Canaan. And when they were going to come out of Egypt, it's essentially what it's talking about. They were going to subdue Canaan, but they had to displace the people that were there. But because the fullness of their sin was not filled, the Lord was not ready to displace them just yet. Verse 17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces, the carcasses that he had to split before, that the God told him to get. Verse 18. And the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt, the Nile River, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. That's a big stretch of land from the Nile unto Euphrates. The Canaanites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. These are the people that were currently living in that land that the God had promised to Abram he was going to give him. Not necessarily him, but his offsprings and the following generations. Anyway, yeah, it's that's what's going on in chapter 15. If you guys have any comments, leave them below in the comment section, and we could talk about it. Like and subscribe, and we will talk to you chapter 16 next time. Bye. This remote control, I kid you not. One of these days I'm going to figure it out.